Three of the most talked about projects on this channel have been XRP, XLM, and also XDC. Now, two of those three are some of the largest gainers in the top 100 when we really kind of look over here on crypto bubbles. But what about XDC? We're going to be talking about it in this video, along with, of course, XRP and XLM. So with that being said, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. As we really look at what's been happening over the last, 48 hours, honestly, I would argue it's like the last month. It really started after the elections. I feel as though a lot of people have been getting shocked by what's happening with some of these altcoins because they weren't prepared. Even though they were listening to the videos, even though they were paying attention, they just were not prepared enough. They did not have their bags packed enough because they didn't believe that a big move was around the corner, just like I've been mentioning many times in the last couple weeks and even the last couple months. And now that we're finally here, I do think that we need to address it because these three projects, believe it or not, are going to continue to shock a lot of people because of the utility behind them. Now, if we actually look at XRP, again, a lot of these are now starting to have a pullback, which is actually very beneficial for us because as we look at how deep this, this possible pullback could go, it could provide us with some great buy opportunities yet again, while everyone is now starting to feel a little bit bearish on these projects, even though, pullbacks are healthy after having such a big move, especially in the last month. These projects were up over well over 100%. XLM in the last month is up 455%. So, a pullback is welcomed. It's healthy. And I'm definitely watching closely to see how deep these go. But XRP, XLM, these have very similar overall 24-hour volume. They're pretty much neck to neck. And then we also have XDC. Now, XDC in the last month, it's up 124%. It's not, a small thing at all because if we go back to XRP, it's up 164%. Yes, XLM is definitely an outlier, up almost 500%, but XDC definitely has been moving up, quite a bit. Volume has definitely been dropping out, but I have been watching to see increased volume. The number one thing that I want to actually see from XDC is a lot more listings. I think that that would definitely help a lot with XDC, and I'm actually very surprised that's not on Binance, Coinbase, or any like major large exchange. I do think that that will most likely happen eventually, hopefully, by the end of the year, which would be very exciting. But that's me being hopeful and not conservative because we don't know what's in store. We don't know what's going to happen. But as we look at these three projects, I've always been talking about them. Okay. Over on X yesterday, I said, watched XLM break 60 cents while live streaming, which, by the way, for all those that stopped out to the live stream, I do appreciate all of you, especially a lot of the super thanks. Everyone was very happy. So I'm very thankful for the live stream. It was very successful. But I said people are now realizing why I have always said to stack both XRP and XLM. The X's are going to shock everyone very soon, i.e. XRP, XLM, and XDC. Now, you might argue that they already have shocked a lot of people, but like I said, I think that the biggest moves in this market have yet to actually happen, especially if we're thinking about alt season and what alt season actually looks like. We are not there yet. What we are seeing is a lot of these outliers like XRP, XLM, and XDC starting to have a big move to the upside because of the news of, Gary Gensler, the SEC, and, everything around crypto adoption and innovation within the US. But outside of that, I do think that the biggest moves have yet to hit the space. Now, if we're thinking about that, right, where do I see these three going? Well, we're going to address that. But first, I also want to address this post here because this goes all the way back to 2023 when I made a post about these three projects, more so specifically why I hold these three, which since then, a lot has changed. I actually don't hold as much XDC these days. I had to consolidate my portfolio. Again, I know it sucks to see, but I had way too much and I wanted to consolidate it down so that it's easier to manage. But regardless, this is because I have done enough research to know just how big these three will be. Let's talk about what I have learned from my research. Now, I do talk about how XRP is going to be a pillar for the digital global payments network that could dwarf any global traditional network itself because of it being a fundamental asset basically for a future dominated by digital currencies and things on chain like tokenized assets as well, which we're now starting to see becoming a reality. But also XRP and even XLM are two that are mentioned heavily on a lot of documents. And I've always looked at XLM as a key player around value movement, very similar to XRP, but more so for the P2P space, aka retail. But also, Stellar has expanded rapidly in recent times, especially with Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree, things like that. These are just two legitimate players in the space that I just feel like they are going to explode much, much higher, especially once utility also becomes a crucial piece of the value extraction of these assets. But also XDC, ushering in a $19 trillion asset class into the digital age. Trade finance has been ripe for disruption, but digital innovations have failed due to high cost. And that's where DLT really kind of comes into place. XinFin itself has created a network of networks through platforms like TradeFinix that are also exposed to networks like Swift. Not to mention that they're already collaborating, with a part of the DSI, TFDI, the ITFA, the DNI. The ICC has also recognized the significance behind XDC and XinFin. So as we really look at these utility projects, they are very big pieces of my portfolio, and it's because I believe in the future of the tech. And even if we look at, RWA, XYZ, I don't think that you need to hear from me that, the tech will be very big. These are the networks that have the most amount of RWA TVL tied to them. Stellar's obviously number 2. XDC is number 14. But I do think that these will eventually grow significantly as a lot more adoption of tokenized assets do become a reality. But if we're looking at the market overview itself, okay, we can see the amount of TVL around RWAs growing significantly to over 13.5 billion. There has been a large amount of tokenization news happening. We could actually see that here. If you actually look at the latest news, which I love the fact that RWXYZ does have this, we could see all of the big players jumping in, like Goldman Sachs or even Franklin Templeton. I mean, there has been a large amount of banks jumping in on the tokenization space as well, because institutions are going all in. I mean, institutions are here and they have been here for a while, but now we're starting to see their overall plan in place. And even if we actually look at the institutional funds here, okay, so far there's only 3 mentioned here with Securitize, Superstate, and Republic. But if you actually look at the names behind them, you could see, for an example, here is Securitize. Let's go to Securitize itself. I don't know if it's actually going to mention, it's actually not mentioning them, but I believe if I go over here to US Treasuries, we could see some of them. Like, for example, the DTCC, which does settle like over $3 quadrillion per year in terms of securities transactions. They're one of the top entities. We also have, Franklin Templeton. Of course, we have BlackRock here as well. And the list just goes on. And it's kind of wild to witness these big players jumping in on the space. But Stellar and also XDC are two that I already have, millions of dollars tied to them. We also know that the XRP Ledger is starting to see millions and millions of dollars tied to it as well through, players like Axelar, Archix, Open Eden, things like that. Now, they have yet to be tied to RWXYZ, but eventually I do believe that the XRP Ledger is going to be listed on here, and we'll actually see how much money is really kind of tied to it. But, I bring these two up because they do have a large amount of growth behind them already and exposure to the tokenization space. And if we actually look at XDC, there was a recent quote that I actually loved, and it was from an individual at Plug and Play TC Summit. And we actually have it here: crypto in transition post-election impacts international markets and regulatory clarity. And the quote here is, crypto is now a forever technology. 90% of the world doesn't have exposure yet, but they will. Most people are waking up to this every day. And yes, 90% of the world has no clue what's happening right now. But check this out.
ETF, for a lot of people in their minds, I think it took zero off the table. Like it really did make it feel as though this is a forever tech, right? This is a credibility. This is, time is the barrier to entry. So all these projects have become more mature. There's belief. 97% of the world doesn't have exposure in this asset in Bitcoin that they are going to. And I think you're just seeing more and more people wake up to that, and every single day there's another person and more people. So it's just the beginning.
And, this is exactly why I say, everyone will be shocked by these projects, because I try to tell people, I try to talk to people, like outside of the YouTube thing, guys, I talk to people on a daily basis about crypto. Some of them don't realize it. They don't get it. They don't understand it. A lot of them I told to set up, wallets back in 2022. They're now messaging me today saying, hey, should I do that now? This is the problem with the retail sector. They don't believe in things when we see these turbulent times in crypto. They want to buy when things are pumping, when things are going crazy. But the problem is that a lot of these projects like XRP, believe it or not, are already pricing retail out. Can you, let me ask you all this. Can you buy 100,000 XRP today and, be fine? You probably can't, because it costs over $140,000. When we think about what's going on here, okay, I've always said that these projects will find a way to price retail out. And they already are, okay? They already are. And I stress the idea of, looking at these projects and realizing how early we actually are. Because we are going to continue to see adoption growing significantly around a lot of these networks. And even if we actually look at the network exposure to some of these, networks, like for an example, Stellar, or even like the XRP Ledger, which I do have open over here, the overall ecosystems on these have been on fire. When it comes to XDC, yes, they are starting to expand. Yes, they're starting to grow. They recently released XDC 2.0, which is going to be a big game changer. They do have trade finance growing. They have DeFi initiatives growing on the network. They have been expanding rapidly. But as we look at Stellar, okay, and we look at the stats here, their overall transactions, the performance, the accounts, they have been going parabolic. I mean, it's wild to witness this in real time. But also another big thing that I've been focused on when it comes to Stellar is Soraban, which if we actually look at this, they have over 2,691 contracts deployed, 1,795 smart contracts. Guys, the smart contracts on Stellar have been going insane as well. And we could actually see the smart contracts created in the last year. This was the largest day. November 9th through the 11th, they had over 377 smart contracts created. This is why I say there's a lot of building happening on these networks. There's a lot of growth happening on these networks, regardless of if they're Dino coins or they're, utility-based projects. Guys, the ecosystem growth on these from the retail sector side is also very significant. Yes, they will continue to grow, through the initiatives with, institutions and things like that. But just really kind of looking at the trends on some of these networks, even more recently in October, guys, the overall XRP Ledger token market history, if we look at the market cap of all of these tokens, guys, they quickly grew to well over $286+ million. And we could actually see the trades, the active traders, the listed assets, the trust lines, the DEX volume. Guys, these have been growing at a very massive rate in terms of all the stats on the XRP Ledger. And this is all through the retail sector. We're not even accounting for, institutional growth or, institutional adoption, which is becoming a reality, especially when we look at, institutional DeFi initiatives. So as we look at these three projects, guys, they are set to explode even higher. And if we're talking about a utility market, when utility actually does become a reality, and that's the big price driver, these three are already set to be very large players during that time. So this is why I've always said, you got to pay attention to the triple threat. I call them the triple threat. They're the triple X's. They are the biggest players, or at least three of the biggest players in this space. Yes, I love HBAR. Yes, I love, Casper, QNT, things like that. But these three are going to change the world of finance and a lot of these sectors around it as well in a big way. They're three big players. They're blue chips, in my opinion. So definitely focus on these three. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.